Today we're going to do a full comprehensive tour of my off-grid power system, which includes 20 kilowatts of panels. That's 48 panels at 435 watts each. They're 1 meter by 2 meters with a 13 kilowatt diesel generator. So we're going to look at the whole system. We'll start outside here. We'll look at the panels. We'll look at the generator, and then we'll go inside and look at the batteries, charge controllers, inverters, and the console, the whole system. I'll break it all down. So before we start the tour, I just want to start with the why. Why did I put so much resources and time into building what I think is the ultimate off-grid system? You know, when this whole globalist takeover thing started a couple years ago now, I mobilized into action because, frankly, I'd seen this stuff coming for a long time. I'd been somewhat of a prepper for many years. You know, I woke up about 20 years ago when my dad explained to me how the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada worked, and I kind of realized how the system was all this big scam and a slavery system. And ever since then, I've wanted to be as autonomous or self-reliant as humanly possible in every different aspect. But when the whole, Rona scam started, I knew that now was the time to mobilize. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I'm responsible for much more than myself. And so I wanted to take control of 4 things primarily. And that's where the whole journey of this homestead that I've been building for the last year, call it 14 months, started, as I wanted to take control of my food, water, energy, and shelter. Those are the 4 nexuses of human survival. At least the most important things that one needs to live. And so we bought this off-grid homestead, which wasn't much, but we have 40 acres up here. We're on top of a mountain. We're off all major roads. We have an incredible view to the south. We're on basically a mountain ridge that kind of runs to the, well, I guess it faces southeast. So we have really good southern exposure. So I wanted to take control of those 4 things. Food, well, you guys know me as the urban farmer, so I probably don't need to get into that much. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that that's my wheelhouse. So we've got food. My gardens are really going to be taking flight this spring. Water, well, this summer we installed a well. We drilled about 400 feet, and we've got 10 gallons a minute on top of the mountain, which is pretty amazing, and so far seems to be unlimited. Shelter, we're in the process of building right now. Behind me, this is my garage / passive solar greenhouse, and our house will go here. But that, we've got everything ready to start that, but we won't really be hitting the ground running with that until the spring. And then energy is the power system. So I wanted a system that could function all year without a generator. Now that's an ambitious goal, because most people who are off grid will tell you that the backbone of any off grid system is a generator, and I'd say for the most part that's true. But I have some experience with solar because I had been living in a solar-powered home for the last 6 years. We sold our home in Kelowna, so we're no longer there. But I had a lot of experience with that system and kind of learning the nuances of what it's like to live by the cycles of the sun, adjusting your behavior, adjusting your power consumption based on what is coming out or what you're pulling in. And so when I set up this system, my initial goal was that I wanted it to produce enough at the coldest and darkest parts of the year that we could basically keep it running all winter and not have to use a generator. Now, I still went and got a generator because you never know. I felt that it was a necessary thing, especially once our house is installed, our loads are going to increase. But I can tell you, so far, we have not needed to run that generator at the darkest times. And right now we're in a little bit of a break. It's still cloudy, but the clouds are way higher. We're generating a little bit more solar than we have the last couple weeks. The last couple weeks, we've been totally socked in. We had about 4 days, the last 4 days, where everything's melted, but now it's got cold again. So winter's on its way back, and I think it's going to stay this time. But I wanted this system to basically get through those periods. And I can tell you, we've had crazy socked in weather for the last number of weeks, and we'll get these periods where it'll be super, super cloudy, and we're high up, so we actually sometimes are in the clouds. Like, it's so socked in here sometimes that I can't even see. I can see about 500 feet. I wouldn't even be able to see in the close that mountain right there. I can't even see it. We get that socked in at times, and there's times where it's like that for 6 or 7 days. But the thing that's really interesting, that's just observing and how the system works, is that because we have a large battery bank, we've been able to pull through. So let's explain some of the stats of the system. So again, we have 20 kilowatts of panels. So there's 48 panels at 435 watts. It's about 20 kilowatts total. They're on 3 different racks, and each rack has its own charge controller. And then we have 2 inverters for the whole system. So these 2 panels behind me, these 2 are on the same inverter. So there's a cable that starts at that one. It goes underground. It connects with this one, and then it comes underground all the way back over to where our garage is, where we've got everything is housed, and we'll go look at that after this little outside tour. And then this 3rd panel here is on its own inverter. Now, the reason I did that is that I wanted to build in optionality into the system, because I didn't know, and I still don't exactly know, what our full demand is going to look like. But right now, it's been producing more than we need. And so the thinking there was, if I ever wanted to add a quarter, so if I wanted to add another, well, I guess it would be another about 6.5 kilowatts, because that's what each of these rigs is worth. I could put it up there, and I could tie it right into this one, and then it would be on that inverter. So with sort of with the least amount of infrastructure, I could increase this system quite significantly, and so that's why I did it that way. So let's take a look at some of these racks here. So this whole solar system are on these racks. These racks are from a company called Kinetic. And sorry for the mess. It's still a construction zone here, and I'm actually going to get all this cleaned up before the next snow batch comes. But all these panels are on these racks, and the racks have 3 concrete footings, they weigh about 6,000 pounds each. So these are solid. We've had some brutally scary windstorms up here, and these have not even moved a millimeter, which has been really reassuring to see, because there was times when I had some windstorms come up that I was really nervous about these panels. But so far, they haven't even moved. Each of the footings are bolted in. There's a ready rod that was put into the concrete, and then we also screwed in 4 bolts per pad there, or footing. So the panels have 4 positions. So right now these are in winter position like this, and then there is a fall and spring position, which is about 45 degrees, and then there's a summer position, which is like that, and then there's a maintenance position just to get it perfectly level. And so we do move these 4 times a year. Basically, at every major season shift, we'll change the angle of the panels, and it does produce a significant. It's very noticeable how much more power you draw, especially when the sun is out, when you're at the correct angle. We just moved these into winter position about a few weeks ago, and we noticed that it was producing about 10% more when we put them up into the winter position. So it's quite significant. The reason I have these on racks and not on my roof is, well, frankly, I don't have enough roof space to accommodate this many panels. But also, when you have panels on a roof, it's more difficult. It's not impossible, but it's more difficult to have them move. My previous system in Kelowna, they were just on the roof, and the panels couldn't move. And you can make your panels move on a roof, but it just means that you'll have less panels, because if they're too close together and then you put them into winter mode, then one panel will shade out the other. So it didn't make sense. I actually like having them on the ground too, because then they're easier to maintain. When we're deep into snow, I'm having to come out here every morning. I've got this long squeegee on a telescoping pole that I can just scrape the snow off, and I often have to do that. One of the problems I've been having is that I get a bit of too much snow building up on the bottom, but I've actually cleared some of this out, and I've had a number of people comment on the videos, well, why don't you just excavate that down? Well, because I have cables down there, so I can't really excavate down any further. But I think if I would have had to done this again, I would have just raised these up higher off the ground. But also what I'm planning to do now is I'm just going to level this stuff out. They're still about 2 feet off the ground there. I'm going to level this out with my skid steer, and then I can just bring my snowblower in here and just blast this stuff out this way. And that's how I'm planning to maintain it. But you do get a lot of build up because they keep coming down, and then you get piles here, and then I've been having to just shovel it away. It's not that bad. It takes me probably a few minutes per rig to scrape off the snow. So it's not really that much work, but it's very necessary in the winter. And yeah, so that's the basis of what's going on there. So our system total, so we got about 20 kilowatts of panels. We have 96 kilowatts of lithium iron sulfate batteries. When we go inside, I'll show you those. And I think they're 5.12 kilowatts each. I have 18 of them. They're pretty sweet. But the great thing about the system that we've witnessed over the last number of weeks is that we get these super socked in days, and the lowest amount of production I've seen on this system for a whole day is 1.8 kilowatts. That is very, very low. For when we're in the, this system wasn't fully operational until summer, so I haven't seen what spring looks like, but I imagine it'll look something like fall. But even in the fall, this system was overproducing so much that by about 11 a.m., they were in a float state, meaning that the batteries were already topped up, and now we're producing more solar than we have anywhere to put. So that was the problem. And so we found a number of ways to dump excess electricity. I've got a hot water heater going in. We've got a well that we can pump water uphill with, and there'll be a number of other things. We're going to be putting a heat pump in the house. For summer, when we have excess power, we can just be cooling the house and things like that, basically. But the thing that's been really interesting on these really socked in days is because we have so much battery storage, we'll have these days where, we're producing, say, let's call it an average of 2 kilowatts in a day. But we'll consume 8 to 10 kilowatts in a day because I've got power tools running. I have a crew working here 5 days a week. And so the thing that's been neat is because of the battery capacity, if I'm, say, producing at the lowest 2, but I'm consuming 8, that means I'm consuming about 6 kilowatts just by deducting the difference. So at 96 kilowatts, I have a number of days of power. And what we found is that I could have about a week and a half of cloudy weather. And then if I get a break in a day where the clouds are higher like they are now, or we get a number of hours of sunlight, that's enough to often top up the batteries and get me through another one of those stints. So that's what's been really cool, is I haven't needed to run this generator at all. But let's go look at the generator now, and I'll explain a little bit about this. So this is a Yanmar 13 kilowatt diesel gen set. And it's all connected to the main system. Our system has an EMS, an energy management system, that will basically turn this on when we get to, once the batteries go below 50%, the generator will just turn on automatically. It'll top up the batteries and it'll turn itself off. This is not finished at all. Eventually, very soon actually, this will be built into the siding. There'll be a little bit of a shack that comes out. It'll match the siding of the building here. It'll have a muffler out that goes above the roof and all that, and it'll kind of just, you won't see this. It has a different tidy tank, not this one, that'll be inside. It'll be insulated with R40 insulation, which will be a sound barrier as well, and they'll be able to open it to get inside to access it, and it won't actually be connected technically to the building. It'll look like it's connected, but it won't be connected. And the reason I didn't want to connect it is so that we're not hearing any vibration in the wall, because in this building I have an office and a workshop and things like that. So that was important for me to keep it separate. But yeah, it's a pretty skookum unit. I don't really know a lot about these, to be honest, but my electrician Cody has wired all of this up to the system. I can turn it on manually inside if I want to. I have a software app. It's the whole when we go inside, you'll see the whole system is Schneider Electric, and so I have software. I could turn this on from anywhere if I wanted to. I could be sitting inside on my laptop and turn this thing on if I needed to. It also has a bypass inside where, let's say it's the dead of winter and my wife really wants to run laundry when there's not enough sun out. I could just go and turn this on manually, and then this could handle the load of a washer and dryer. You know, a dryer might take 6 kilowatts. This would have no problem taking that load, and then that way I'm not chewing down my batteries. And that's why a generator is important, is that there might be times where you need to run a heavy load, and it's better to, if you've got the diesel, it's better to burn some fuel than it is to pull that load off your batteries, because the more you cycle your batteries, the less time they last. And so I can tell you, so far, the system has been in operation, not full operation, but it's been operational for about 4 months now. I have never once drained the batteries. Actually, no, that's not entirely. There's one time I drained the batteries because this building got cold, but we've solved that problem now because we have heat in there and the building is more or less buttoned up. It's not at all finished, but it's buttoned up. But you know, besides from that cold spell, which kind of shut the batteries down, we've never cycled the batteries fully because there's always enough power coming in from the solar that we haven't needed to. But this is a sweet unit that I hope I don't have to run a lot, but diesel is incredibly efficient. You know, the one time we did in that cold spell where the batteries went down quite a bit, this ran for 10 hours and it topped those batteries up, and it really only consumed a couple liters of diesel. So diesel goes a long way with a generator like this. So let's go inside and check the rest of the system out. All right, so this is inside the shop right now. We're drywalling, and our windows are going to get installed real soon too, but we got them covered up with poly for the moment. And this area is my office. Nick's in there right now doing some drywall. This is my little single car garage. This is a little wood shop in here. And through those windows is the greenhouse. But we're not going to talk about that in this video. So here's the whole system. And we've got our 2 inverters here, and then these are the 3 charge controllers. These are all the batteries. This is the main breaker right now. There'll be another big breaker in here for when the house is finished. And then this is what's called a battery combiner. It basically just combines all these batteries to go into the main system, and it's not a thing you have to touch ever. It's just hardware that's in there. So let's start with our inverters. So this inverter here, this one is connected to the 2 rigs, and then this inverter here is connected to the 1. And you can see kilowatts in. It's still fairly early in the morning. It's just around 9 a.m. right now. So these 2 at the very moment are producing 0.31 kilowatts. And this one, which isn't getting a lot of direct light right now, is producing 300 watts. And then, again, these are our charge controllers. Now the batteries, these batteries I got from a company in Texas called Signature Solar, and each of these batteries is 5.12 kilowatts. So altogether we have 96 kilowatts here. There's 18 of these batteries. And they're pretty amazing. The great thing about lithium, opposed to say a lead acid, which is what a lot of people who are off grid use, is that lithium, you can draw them a lot lower. But the one downside to them is they don't like cold, so you have to keep this room warm. And when we were first setting this system up, before this was sealed up, it was just completely wide open. Like it's still not finished, right? Our windows and doors aren't done, but we've buttoned it up so that we can keep heat in here, and we've got a Blaze King wood stove keeping it warm. But before we had heat in here, we had some days where it was getting down to -8, and I had to keep poly over all of this, which we're still using for the drywall dust. But I would have a little space heater in here just to keep the batteries above 0. And there was some days, actually one day in particular, it got really, really cold, and the system basically froze, and so it was a complete system shutdown. But ever since we've had this building buttoned up, we haven't had that issue. But yeah, so this is how it's all set up. And here's my main controller. I've also got a really cool software app that's connected to all this. This is all Schneider Electric stuff. And in this little controller here, it kind of tells me everything that I need to know. So right now I can look, just kind of zoom in on here. Right now, our batteries are about 75%, and we're pulling 336 watts of load, which isn't very much. Now, if I go through here, this is one of the inverters, and it's showing Fuck. So this is one of the inverters, and it's showing how many volts are on the battery, how many amps are coming out, and it's showing how much load it's putting out. So this one inverter, this is the combined inverter, is putting out just around 300 watts to the house and wherever else we're using it. Here's the other inverter. It's not generating much power right now, but it's also putting out just under 20 watts. And when I go into this one, now this is showing, these are all the charge controllers so that are connected to each solar rig. So this one here right now is producing 292 watts of solar. And so far it's harvested 600 watts, and it's still early morning, so once the sun comes higher in the sky, it'll produce a lot more. And then the next one here is putting out 310 watts to the batteries. So far it's harvested 0.8 or 800 watts. And then the other one here is putting out 279 watts to the batteries, and it's harvested 0.5 watts. And then I go to this part here, this just shows me the generator. Now I could turn the generator on manually if I wanted from here, but that's basically how the whole system works. So the nice thing right now is that even at this early in the day, I'm producing more than I'm consuming. So even though my batteries have gone down over the last couple days, right now we're net positive. We're producing more than we're consuming. So that's pretty much the system, guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section there, and I'll probably do more videos on this in the future, but this is it for now. All right, so that's my tour of the system. If you're not a member of FromTheField.tv, that's where I post all my vlogs. So I've been vlogging for over a year now on this property, just showing all the development. You know, we're building, like I said at the beginning of the video, food, water, energy, and shelter. So we've got big gardens coming in here, food forests, annual gardens, greenhouses, off-grid system, water system. I've got piped water all around our 40 acres. And then, of course, we're building our new house. So there's a lot to be developed. And if you want to keep up to date with that, head over to FromTheField.tv. If you want to just sign up for 7 days for free, you can do that now. We've got basically, you can just sign up and try it for 7 days with no commitment. We've got thousands of videos in there now. And I'm not the only content creator at FromTheField.tv. We've got a number of other creators, and we've got some big plans with that platform. But I'm going to be sharing all of my work here on this homestead up there, and I hope to see some of you guys in there. All right, we'll see you in the next video.